Welcome back to the Level Up and Live podcast. I'm your host, Sean Meyers. Today, I'm sitting down with a business owner who's in the middle of the journey, learning, growing, and leaning into who God is calling him to become as a leader. David Wilkinson is the owner of Cornerstone Construction, a husband, a father, and a man building both a business and a legacy with faith at the center. In this conversation, we're pulling back the layers on leadership, humility, family, and what it really takes to grow a company without losing your values. David, I'm honored to have you here, brother. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Sean. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course, man. Now, for people meeting you for the first time, coffee shop, mastermind group, on a podcast, who is David Wilkinson today, and what season of life and business are you in right now?
So today I'm a husband of a beautiful wife, Heather. We've been married for 25 years and we have 5 kids ranging from 22 and married. Got a daughter who's a junior in college at Sam Houston. We have a senior in high school looking at soccer scholarships in different colleges around the country.
Wow.
We have a freshman in high school, daughter named Anna, and Kylie, who is 6 and in kindergarten. So we are in every aspect of parenting and marriage you could imagine. So and on top of that, we decided to throw in starting a business and learning how to build it in a way that honors God and is building the kingdom while we do it.
What a beautiful story, man. And I'm a big believer in like all of us, and you know this too, being part of the Level Up Live, like we all have untapped potential within us. God has called us to be this 10.0 version of ourselves. And I believe in these different seasons of life, like what you're going through with your kids and being there for them, and then your wife, and then your business, like it stretches you, it puts pressure on you.
It does, for sure.
Right. And it's relatable, and it's because you're doing big things, you're doing hard things. And to me, that's the whole point of life. I mean, the alternative is we could just sit on the couch and eat Cheetos and watch Netflix, right?
Right. And we get nowhere. And we don't get to understand the version of ourselves, because all pressure does is push out what's already there. And so if we don't realize what's there, we don't have an opportunity to work and change that. And so the last 25 years, 30 years has literally been that process of pressure, understanding what's going on, getting that hot water. Had a professor give us an illustration of a tea bag. If you have a tea bag, you pour the hot water in, whatever's in the tea bag is going to come out. So God's in the process of helping us change what's in the tea bag, so that when hard things come, pressure comes, relationships, what comes out is him. And so it's just another part of the journey that we get to walk with him and understand who we are, who he created us to be, and the things he's inviting us to be a part of in this journey.
Now, when you started Cornerstone Construction, what vision did you have, and how has that vision evolved as the business has grown?
The vision for Cornerstone Builders remodeling, and honestly, it was at a point where I'd lost my job, and this is what I know to do. And so we just started doing work and help. And so it's evolved into this idea and understanding of utilizing a business to help build God's kingdom. It's more about just our own personal finances and just providing our family's needs, but developed into how do we take this mindset of the kingdom and take that to the people that we work with, take it to the people that we do the work for, and bring that kind of level of peace of the whole process and into every situation.
What's been harder than you expected while evolving and growing alongside of this vision?
So it's really been actually building a business. I'm really good at the technical side of everything having to do with residential remodeling and construction. I'm really good at managing. And I've just really come to understand that building a business is a very different beast than doing the work or managing the work. And so this stage of life has been, if we're going to do this, we need to do it well. And so I'm going to start investing in myself, putting myself in situations like a Level Up and Live group, where I'm around people who have made some of the same mistakes, but yet now have been successful and can help me understand how to maneuver past those pitfalls and grow a business that is actually thriving and able to impact the kingdom well.
Now, one of the things I'm hearing you say, and I'm paraphrasing here, is that you've realized that you don't have all the answers.
I don't. I definitely don't have all the answers.
And that's a smart man. That's a wise man. And I think anybody for listening to this, if you think you have it all, the answers, well, then that's the ego and pride talking.
It is.
And go ahead.
I had someone mention the idea entrepreneur so often means solopreneur and isolation and thinking we have to have it all figured out and trying to do it all on our own. Ultimately, God allows for certain levels of success. Sometimes we get there by drive and intentionality and a lot of those things, but ultimately we can't sustain on our own. It takes a group. It takes people around us to see what we can't see, to help us grow, to be a better version of what God designed us to be.
I'm curious, you realizing you don't have all the answers, what moment, was there a moment or a season that brought that clarity for you in your life?
Yeah. So, what would it be? 7 years ago, I went on my own for the first time in construction and just trying to do it on my own, making some poor decisions, and finding myself completely upside down in my cash flow, where I'm doing a disservice to my homeowners and ended up closing my doors. And so through the process of that failure, understanding that this time around, there's some things that really need to be different, things that need to be intentional. And part of that has been this process of learning how to actually build a business and not just expecting that it's going to happen while I do a good job with somebody's bathroom or kitchen or remodel.
What are some things that you're being more intentional about?
I'm being more intentional about my relationships at home. So time with my wife and building that level of spiritual, emotional, and physical intimacy. Because if I don't have that intimacy, then whatever I go out and do, what does it really matter? And so developing that with my kids and learning, and it's a process. You know, my story is one of coming out of how I coped with my mess and my stress that almost destroyed my family. And so we've come through a season of healing and growth where, you know, thanks to God, my marriage is still here. My wife stayed with me. My kids are still talking with me, and we're growing through this process of healing and freedom in our family. And at this point, I feel like we're really poised for what God has for us, that there's a freedom in our family. And so that's something I've been really intentional about. And so almost starting the business and doing the work in the business is secondary to this move of who God says I am and moving in that purpose of really coming alongside other people who, like me, just sometimes, one, they don't know who they are. And then they're dealing with coping with all the stress and the mess in a way that's destroying them and their family. And they have no one to talk to about it.
Now, you recently had a meaningful conversation, and it made me so happy that you had shared this with me here in the past couple of weeks with your son, who I believe just turned 22, about possibly joining the family business at Cornerstone. What did that conversation stir up in you as a father and a leader?
what it stirs up was, one, just a pride of how proud I am of my son and how well he has done and the choices he's made, and really the intentionality that he has had in pursuing just a very higher level of work ethic and the giftings God's given him in seeing the bigger picture of what's really going on and having a heart to protect the companies that he's been a part of that sometimes have been overlooked, that has been pushed off as youthful exuberance versus sometimes wisdom. And the hard part, it's kind of pushed on some people's understanding and stepped on their toes of ways that they're failing as leaders. And so that's been, watching him navigate that has been amazing for me to watch. But then for us to be able to sit down and have a conversation about potentially working together, and if that's what God wants for us, was just to my own heart was just an amazing gift from God as a reflection of the healing that God's doing in our family. Because the reality is, when we're dealing with any kind of addiction, it doesn't matter what it is, what we're trying to cope with. It's not just me that it's affecting. It affects my marriage, and it affects my family. It affects my kids. My kids feel the absence, or sometimes it's the opposite. They feel the anger, the frustration, being not enough. And so for God to work through this process of healing my heart and then taking that to my family, just a beautiful moment just to be able to have that conversation.
That's so powerful, man. I'm sitting here in awe right now, and I know our listeners and viewers are as well.
Me too. Me too.
If that's not the power of our God, then I don't know what is. So, man,
Absolutely.
One of the things I wanted to tap in is I know you're a man of faith, and then you have prayer and meditate on this. And for our listeners and audience as well, how has prayer and faith helped you really slow things down, reflect, and realign with who you need to become as a leader? Because I think so many business owners, so many entrepreneurs, so many leaders, and you know this, they're nonstop and they don't pick their head up out of the sand. And then they wonder, wow, they've neglected their spouse, they've neglected their kids, their health's neglected, but their business is doing well, but everything else around them is falling into shambles. And I feel like I'm just curious with you, man, in your faith journey and in your prayer, how has it helped you slow down, reflect, and realign with who you need to become as a leader in this next season of life?
So and this is an evolving process. It's something that I'm learning to become more and more. And so really, for me, it's learning how to stop and ask God questions and take the time to listen to what he wants to tell me. And so I grew up with the idea of prayer is you talk to God. You ask him, here's my list. Here's all the things I want you to do for me. Will you show up? Will you come and do this? Will you do this? Bless my day. Amen. And we're off.
Yeah.
And it's shifting to an understanding that God isn't about, here's my to-do list. Here's all the things I want you to do for me. God's about relationship. So if I don't spend time with him, hearing from him, he wants to hear my heart too, but he wants me to understand his heart. Like if I only talked to you, Sean, called you up every morning and said, hey, Sean, hey, I love being in relationship with you. Hey, can you do this for me today? Can you do this and this and this? Okay, great. We'll talk to you tomorrow. That's not a relationship.
No.
That's a one-sided, and you know how marriages work if they're like that. They don't work very well.
They don't.
And relationships with God don't work that way either. And so it's learning how to stop and hear from him And then you start taking that into every aspect of your day. Like right now, God, what do I need to say?
Yeah.
What's on my heart? What don't I say? How shouldn't I say something? Or going into a business meeting, and what should I take care of? What are the things I should highlight today? What shouldn't I? Who do I need to talk to? And then realizing people are way more important than the business. And it's believing God's promises. God says, if you seek me first, seek my kingdom and my righteousness, I'll take care of everything else. And so it's learning how to, you know what? This person really needs my time and attention right now. I know I've got 6 other things to do. I've got a bid to do. I need to call this person. I need to do that. I need to do this.
Yeah.
But right now, God has me in front of this person who needs to hear from him. And so I spend the time there.
Yeah.
And trust that God's going to take care of my business.
Well, just like today, you're on this podcast. You could have said yes to a million other things that you have going on in your life right now. And you said yes.
Yes, that is true.
Right. And you're going to be
Yep.
impacting, and you're going to be serving hundreds and if not thousands of people in the coming months.
Yep.
So, man, what do you feel like God has been teaching you right now in this season of your life in 2026?
So you asked me a question a couple weeks ago. Do I really want to be building Cornerstone Builders as a business? And my answer was no, I really don't. But then after taking some time to reflect and talk to God about that, he helped me understand that there are things in this season that he wants me to learn while building a business that is going to take me everywhere in life, everywhere in the ministry, everywhere that I work with people. Because there's aspects to this that I need to help me grow. But secondly, that it's also putting me in places where people need what he's given me. You know, the Bible talks about the things that we go through for a purpose, so we can help encourage and love one another that are in the same thing. Someone else is in the ditch and they need someone to go sit with them and encourage them. Hey, here's the way. Let me walk with you. And so I've gotten excited about building a business that is able to not focus on who we are as a business. It's important. We need to know who we are. But if I'm living out my identity as the builder of God's kingdom, and what does that look like today in this situation? What does it look like this afternoon when I meet a contractor to pick up a check? How can I bring the kingdom into that situation? Or a homeowner who is struggling with her finances with Social Security. How can I encourage her? In that every single situation I go into, I get to be the kingdom. When I come home, when I pick my girls up from school and try to encourage them to talk about their day and what they got to experience, how can I encourage them when they've had a hard day? It's literally every single thing that I do. I now get to be a part of bringing the kingdom into that situation. And so that's really what's exciting to me right now. And I just get to do it while building a business and potentially working with my son and getting to do some things I really enjoy doing.
How much peace is there in knowing that for you?
Oh, it's incredibly peaceful. Like I've had to work through this contentment, learning how to be content with a little. When things are hard, when I don't have work coming in and I don't know where the finances are coming from, and literally just being able to trust God as I push into what I feel like he's called me to do. But it's also learning how to just believe him and what he says and what he has ahead for us. And
love that. Now, when you think about really designing a life in business, David Wilkinson does not grow to regret or hate. what would you say feels most important for you to protect right now in doing that?
Protecting my family relationships for sure. Because if I lose those, it doesn't matter what I build. It doesn't matter how much money I make. It doesn't matter what accolades I get. It doesn't even matter how many people I help and encourage. If I lose that, it none of it matters. And so it's keeping that on the forefront of my mind, because for me, it's all I felt God calling me into some sort of ministry type environment my whole life, but realizing that ministry can be in the middle of business. Ministry can be sitting on the couch with my almost 18-year-old son and encouraging him as he's looking at different options for school. Where I learn how to help my kids know that I see them and know them. And that's been a struggle. It's been something that, again, addiction creates an environment where it's all about me. And you don't see outside of yourself well. And so that's just something God's been really working in me and helping me learn and grow in.
I just had a lady on the Shelly Guthrie, and she owns Salon Genesis in the Woodlands, Texas, on last Tuesday's episode. And one of the things that she shared with me is something very similar to what you're saying. In 25 years in being in business, she had said that in this salon business, she had grown her ministry and in Haiti. And she was, I think she helped over 49 children in an orphanage. And she has taken her kids with her to the orphanage. She has her customers have chipped in, and she's pretty much donated all of her tips from the salon to this orphanage. And it's been an alignment with what God is working through her in unity with what she's doing. And that's what I'm hearing you say. And you're on that journey right now of building that. And that's exciting, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And what's exciting is my wife is with me on this journey, and our heart really is to come alongside other couples who have been through the same process, same things we've been through. We went through a lot of hard things, a lot of things that weren't helpful for us as a couple in this process of disclosure, process of trying to work through this healing process. And what we ultimately found was the most helpful is understanding who we were and walking in humility and honesty before one another of what the truth was, and walking into the things that God had for us. And so we're excited about what's coming up for us, because part of building this business is allowing us to have more freedom to work with couples and provide a safe place for them to come and a place for their families. Because a lot of times in the middle of addiction recovery and marriage recovery, kids kind of get a back seat in all of that. And there's not a lot of help for the kids in the middle of those situations.
Ed Milet says it best: we are best equipped to help the people we once were. So for you, and having all these years of experience in trials and tribulations, man, you're just getting warmed up, brother. I can hear it in your voice, just getting to know you these past couple months. And it's exciting to witness, and I can hear it. I know God is using you in these ways, and it's not if, but when. It's really going to double down, triple down, quadruple down on the impact and serving, because of you're just speaking to your younger version of yourself at 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. And there's people that have been through that, what you've been through, and you've come out the other end. I think it's just so beautiful.
It is.
What would you say to the business owner listening to this right now, entrepreneur who feels overwhelmed, but they know they need help? What would you say to that business owner?
Be willing to ask. I think that's especially as men, it's hard to admit when we don't have it all together.
So true.
And it's hard to admit that we have a whole can of worms back here. And if I just open the lid just a little crack, it's all going to come out. And I know that was true of myself. And again, speaking to the younger version of myself would be willing to ask for help.
Yeah.
Be willing to step up and say, hey, I don't have this all together. And I'm really struggling right now. I'm really, things might look good on the outside. Everybody else, how I present myself, everybody that I'm at in my group, they all think everything's great. But deep down, I know that I struggle with how I handle the stress. I struggle with, and it might be some kind of destructive behavior that no one knows about.
Yeah.
And so whatever it is, be willing to ask for help. And because there are people who have been down this road who can help walk into the healing and freedom that God has for all of us. And because until if you put it like this, we walk in a society filled with guilt and shame.
Yeah.
And those are from the enemy to help hold us, tie us to the past so we can't live in the present. And so God doesn't deal with guilt and shame. He deals with conviction, but then love and forgiveness and healing. And God wants to heal those things so that we can now step into the present and live this present life and who he calls us to be. The other thing is fear.
Yeah.
Fear ties us to a future that might not even exist. And so if we're afraid to step forward in something, fear's not from God. Fear is just a lack of confidence and trust in who he says I am. And sometimes even creating scenarios that may not ever even exist. And so both things are keeping us from living in this present moment, fully alive, fully present, fully being who God designed us to be right now. And so my heart is to help people hear from God, be able to hear their identity from God, because you have to have your identity first before you really can understand your purpose and then have a vision for that.
Yeah.
And then walk into and through the healing needed and with that guilt and shame into the things God's called us to be and what he's inviting us to be a part of.
Wow. David, I've gotten to have some conversations with you today, but you definitely brought your A game today, my man. You are speaking from the heart. I just want to say, brother, I really appreciate your humility today, your faith, and your willingness to lean in and say yes, have the courage to grow alongside of us, not just as a business owner, but as what you're doing at your home, as a husband, a leader of your home, and a father as well. And to everyone listening, if you're in the middle of the journey right now, like we all are, and don't have all the answers, you're not alone.
Yes.
Community, faith, and curiosity matter, like David said. Do not stay in isolation. Get curious, ask questions, be vulnerable, and that's where it all starts. And as always, keep leveling up and keep living with intention. David Wilkinson, thanks again for being on the show, brother.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.